بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد في الأولين، وصل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد في الآخرين، وصل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد في الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. In the name of Allah, the Gracious, the Merciful, to Him we belong and to Him we shall return. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His infinite grace and boundless mercy to send an abundance of prayers and peace upon our beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to elevate our collective rank, to forgive our sins and our shortcomings. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be pleased with us. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to be spiritually nourished and elevated and increased in these days of Sha'ban, which we mentioned are blessed days. They are days where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He lifts, our actions are lifted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this month. And the Prophet ﷺ would increase his worship in this month. And so inshallah ta'ala, we remind ourselves and all of us to be a people of the Qibla, people who direct themselves towards the Qibla of La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah, and who never forget to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the manner that is most pleasing to Him, because this dunya and every circumstance we face and every reality we're going through is nothing but a desire and a yearning for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be pleased with us. Every moment that we have that is seemingly high, or every moment that we have that is seemingly low, it is all from Allah and it is all for Allah. And so we surrender lovingly to Allah Jalla fi ula. Barakallahu fikum. As we've been saying, tibtum wa taba majlisikum. May you be all in the best of states, and may you be sitting in the best of states. And this is inshaAllah ta'ala a gathering of dhikr and a gathering of fikr, a gathering where we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a gathering where we reflect upon the bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we reflect on the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we remember Allah and His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So today we're doing the 11th wisdom of Ibn Ata'illah Secondary. And these wisdoms, as we've been mentioning, these wisdoms, they are wisdoms that are used to reorient the believer's heart around Allah and His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And these are wisdoms that help us unpack the idea of La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, that there is no recourse or power except billah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they are beautifully theologically grounding wisdoms. And as we go, mashallah, we finished 10 and we still have many to go, but each one of them, it is nuanced and opens up a gateway of perspective of how we can think more practically and more functionally about what a living, breathing theology and spirituality looks like. So it's not this nebulous concept, I'm a mu'min, or I love the Prophet, but practically speaking, what does that mean and what does that look like? And this is the beauty of these wisdoms. So the 11th wisdom of Ibn Ata'illah is idfin wujudaka fi ardil khumul. idfin wujudaka fi ardil khumul. فما نبت مما لم يدفن لا يتم نتاجه. فما نبت مما لم يدفن لا يتم نتاجه. Ibn Ata'illah says, bury your existence in the earth of obscurity, for whatever sprouts forth without having been buried flowers imperfectly, or whatever sprouts forth without having first been buried does not bloom. And this, brothers and sisters, is a wisdom that I wish was on every single billboard all across the world. That if we all just came to terms with the profundity of this wisdom, that at the very essence of who we are is to be people who are buried in the earth of obscurity. Why is this wisdom so integral? Because it speaks to the very essence of who we are. We are very simple creations of Allah. We're nothing. We are the result of kun fayakun. Allah willed and we exist. So inherently, we're not unique or special. Inherently, we are from clay, we're from dirt. That's the big proportion of what we are. As this Amir was walking and he was boastful, and an Imam was there, a scholar, and he didn't give the Sultan any due deference. And so he said, "Don't you know who I am?" Kana yatabakhtar. He was in this very haughty state. He said, "Don't you know who I am?" He said, "Yes, I know exactly who you are. You are anta ma bayna nutfatin madhira wa jifatin qadhira wa ma bayna dhalika tahmalu al-'adhara." He said, you are what is between. At your starting point, you are an insignificant sperm droplet, and then your end is a rotting carcass, and in between you are just a carrier of feces. And I know that feels and sounds a bit blunt, but it's a reality that just humbles us. What am I? Who am I? And look at me, and look at how unique I am. And we have this obsession with the self, and we have an obsession with being seen. And what Ibn Ata'illah is telling us is, bury yourself in obscurity. And this is off of which wisdom? The previous wisdom, which was all about sincerity. All about sincerity. The wisdom before that was about him showing us how worship and actions are not monolithic. But then he said, listen, pay attention, that the secret of your actions are the existence of sincerity within them. And now he's saying to us, bury yourself in obscurity. And I love this metaphor of burying oneself versus then what sprouts forth, because the spiritual dimension of all this is realizing that we, as seekers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we who really seek proximity to Allah, we seek spiritual nourishment, we seek genuinely that desire to have a functional relationship with Allah. It requires the practicality of what he's saying. So if you compare ourselves, which we have these souls embedded within us, and that is the potential uniqueness of any of us, is the fact that we have a soul. Imagine if you liken it to a seedling. So what do you do with a seed? You take a seed, you bury it deep into the earth, and then it's covered by more earth, but then it's also covered by fertilizer, whether you store-bought or it's natural fertilizer, which is the feces of animals. And then that seed that's in the earth, it starts to take nutrients from the earth, from the groundwater and from the rain, and then it starts to benefit from the sunlight that's shining upon it. And it's in that process of inherent internal growth for a very long time. The seed stays in the earth, growing slowly, absorbing nourishment, earth, water, sun, nutrients. And that coalescence is happening for a period of time, and then that seedling starts to branch out, and its tentacles, which become the roots, and it starts to embed itself into the earth and grow out onto the earth. It hasn't even been seen yet. It's growing out into the earth. And then when it really starts to spread, then you see a small little leaf or a little leaflet pop out of the ground. And then slowly that leaf turns into a twig, and then that twig starts to grow into a tree, and then that tree starts to grow further and further, and then you have a stump, and then from that you have branches, and then from branches you have leaves, and then over years and years of this process of obscurity and just growing and getting nurtured from being hidden underground, then ultimately the leaves start to take over the tree, and then you start to have fruits. And so the only time the fruit comes forth and the leaves become nourishing, they are a source of shade, they offer oxygen, they give they're nutritious for humans and for animals, is only after this long laborious process. And so Ibn Ata'illah is giving us insight. If we really desire to have this type of nourishment, of growth, we have to bury ourselves in obscurity. Because if we produce without having that first and foremost, it never really blooms. It's never something that offers the nutrition that we seek and desire. There's something that each and every single one of us want in existence. We want to have a healthy, nourishing, spiritual connection with our Creator. We want to be emotionally well. We want to be content. We want to be happy. We want these emotional states. We want to realize a higher purpose. We don't want to just kind of exist, but we want our lives to mean something. There's these ideas that we constantly have about, realizing myself and realizing my identity. And I want to be happy in that process, and I want to feel good. Well, Ibn Ata'illah is saying, listen, for you to have anything that really blooms and is fruitful, you have to bury yourself in obscurity. Because as Sidi Ahmed Zarruq says, this type of burying of the self, it's only a recognition of the self. Rather than being obsessed with the results, that I want to be seen. I want to have that. I want to have what Sheikh so-and-so has. I want to have what my uncle has, or what my father has, or my mother has from spirituality and tuma'nina and sakina. I want to have what my friend has. I want those things, just like in a very childish manner at times. I want, but not realizing in life there's always a serious process that we have to go through to gain those things. Right? So Sidi Ahmed Zarruq, in his explanation of this, he's saying first and foremost, it's a recognition that you are not someone who needs to be seen. You are actually someone who needs to be hidden. In Allah yuhib al-abd al-mu'min, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves the believer who is at-taqi, al-naqi, al-khafi. Prophet says that Allah loves the mu'min, the believer, who is conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is ghani, not in the material sense, but has al-ghina, ghina nafs, that true wealth is when you have a wealthy soul, meaning that you are only in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you don't have any needs or attachments to the horizontal realm. And then he says al-khafi, the hidden. This is the exemplification of the believer that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. And so, brothers and sisters, the first real station in this hikmah is us realizing that to have anything become fruitful in our lives, it requires a lot of time, many years. As Imam al-Juwayni told to his student, Imam al-Ghazali, طول زمان. You need many things to gain knowledge, to gain majd, but you need a long period of time. This is not, a reality or a matter that can be taken in a moment's notice, but you need time, and you need a slow growth, slow simmer. Nothing of virtue, by the way, comes quickly. We are diseased today by this age of the instant, the immediate. I want it now. I want feelings now. I want food now. I want drink now. I want pleasure now. I want knowledge now. I want notoriety now. I want recognition now. I just need it because it's my nafsani orientation that covets those realities. And then there's a social atmosphere that profoundly encourages that. Where what we know throughout human history and from divine guidance is that nothing of benefit comes out that way. As my Mashaykh would say, من تصدر قبل أن يتفقه فكمن تزبب قبل أن يتحصرم. Those who go out and they present themselves publicly, يتصدر, to teaching or whatever, before having actually learned. It's as if you've become a raisin before going through that phase of the grape actually becoming hardened. The grape, for it to transition into a raisin, it's a process. You can't become a raisin except if you're first initially in that hardened state that requires growth and requires a certain type of nourishment. And Abu Bakr al-Shibli, he says, "Man tasaddara qabla awanihi faqad tasadda li hawanihi." Those who put themselves forth in any capacity before they are ready, فَقَدْ تَصَدَّ لِهَوَانِهِ, then you've put yourself in the line of danger, of loss. That if I'm not ready and I put myself out there, then my reality will be lost, will be hawan, will be disastrous. And that's just not a reality that is of spiritual concern, which we'll come to see momentarily with some of the ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ, but it's also a social concern, that I can be spiritually destroyed and my salvation can be put into question if I'm trying to be and to exist and to be seen and to be noticed without having really put myself in a place of deep obscurity. And then if I am presenting myself as an authority or someone who should be looked at or noticed or should be listened to, then I am placing my salvation in question, and simultaneously I'm harming the masses. I am harming others because I am objectively someone who's ignorant, who doesn't know. I have only manipulated the platforms that exist to be able to be seen and heard, and so now I'm heard, and so now I'm wreaking havoc. As the Prophet ﷺ says that at the end of times, the people will take اتخذوا الناس رؤوسا جهالا اتخذوا الناس رؤوسا جهالا. People will take as their leaders the ignorant amongst us. And that's a prevalent reality, because everyone who's obsessing over notoriety or leadership are on average those who are very often not qualified. And so Ibn Ata'illah is saying, please, to ensure that your actions are sound and to have that sincerity, bury yourself. Be hidden, don't be seen. Because we don't want to be seen in this dunya. We don't want to be seen. That's not the point. The Prophet ﷺ, he tells us about some of the devastating realities of the akhirah, where he says, إِنَّ أَوَّلَ النَّاسِ يُقْضَى بِهِمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ, the first people to be judged on the day of judgment is the man who martyred himself, who went into the battlefield and became martyred. And so it is going to be said to him on the day of judgment, why did you go and do this? He said, so that I could attain the station of martyrdom. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to him, no, you did this so that it would be said that you were brave. And it was said. But now he commands the angels, take him and thrust him into hellfire. And the same will be for the person who gives and gives. And Allah will ask him, why did you give? Why did you give all of that? He said, because I wanted to give in your way, Ya Allah. He said, no. You gave because you wanted to be called generous and that you were a giver. And it was said, فَيُؤْخَذْ فَيُقْذَفَ فِي النَّارِ, so he's taken and thrust into hellfire. And the scholar, or the shaykh, the imam, the da'i, the person who presents themselves as a person of knowledge, why did you become this, or why did you position yourself that way? So that I can teach and I can call to the way of Allah. No. فَعَلْتْ لِيُقَالَ عَنْكَ كَذَا. You did that so it would be said that you are X. فَقَدْ قِيلْ فَيُؤْخَذْ فَيُقْذَفُ فِي النَّارِ. It was said, you got what you wanted, now you are taken and you are thrust into the hellfire. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. نسأل الله العافية. نسأل الله العافية. You know, one of the ulama said, أحرقت كيانك بدلا من أن تربي كيانك. You burnt yourself. You harmed yourself when you put yourself out there. You harmed yourself rather than building yourself. Brothers and sisters, this obsession with not being obscure, being seen, being heard, being affirmed, being validated, being praised, being liked, social adulation, all of this is all a disease of the heart. It is a profound disease of the heart, and it's one of the most destructive diseases of the hearts. As the ulama say, حُبُّ الظُّهُورِ يُقْسِمُ الظُّهُورِ. You know, loving to be seen breaks the backs. You know, it's a play on words. حُبُّ الظُّهُورِ يُقْسِمُ الظُّهُورِ. To love to be seen is what breaks the backs. And I'm certain that all of us can relate to this, especially in the social media age. And I'm you know, in the coming time, we're going to have a very open conversation. And I want to be clear, wallahi, this nasiha is for me before anyone else. You know, I'm not, you know, I'm not interested in compromising my akhirah for anything. And I ask Allah to make me sincere and to allow my words to be sincere and allow all of us to be sincere. But wallahi, this is an open discussion for us to come to terms with what it actually means to be spiritually nourished and to grow and to attain divine pleasure. As Allah says, as the Prophet says, "Inna Allah yuhibbu al-mu'min al-khafi," the hidden believer, and to steer clear of the pathway of self-destruction, whether it is worldly destruction or, more importantly, otherworldly destruction. The Prophet ﷺ says, "Man labisa thawba shuhratin albasahu Allahu yawma al-qiyamata thawba madalla." That those who wear the garments of shuhra, of notoriety, of fame, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow them to wear the garments of debasement on the Day of Judgment. That if my desire is always to be seen, then the result will be what? Will be abasement on the Day of Judgment. And I've said this, subhanAllah, in a number of spaces where, you know, today we are obsessed with being seen. We are obsessed with being recognized, with being loved, with being praised. And just as a quick caveat, well, I'm not talking about the fact that some of you may be listening saying, well, listen, I'm not looking for all that. I just want to be loved. Like, I want to be loved in the social need. I want a spouse that loves me and I love them. I want a family member or a close friend that I love and love them. Yeah, that's beautiful love. That social reality that we all desire as human beings, there's beauty in that. And so we should pursue good relationships, nourishing marriages, etc. But what I'm talking about here is this obsession with the nafs, the self, being validated, being recognized, being affirmed. That my life goal is that I assert myself, and so that I am seen, and that I am praised, and I am affirmed, and I am recognized. Because on the Day of Judgment, that's not going to be our estate. None of us are going to want to be seen on the Day of Judgment. We're all going to want to be hidden. We're all going to want to be buried in obscurity. And so the lesson is simple. If I want to be buried in obscurity on the day of judgment, where I am not seen and I'm just, hiding behind the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sipping from his hand some water from his basin, then I have to proactively work in this life to not be seen. When our entire and this, by the way, this has only increased in the COVID reality, where we had the social media effect before, but now when everything now has transitioned into the online realm, we've all put ourselves far more susceptible to this harm. I among them. I wasn't accustomed to teaching on social media and to live streaming. I've never done it before this. But now I put myself in a position. And that's the question is going to be why? Why did you do this? Yasir, why did you do this to yourself? What was your intention? What were your qualifications? What were your capabilities? Where are your teachers? Why aren't your teachers speaking? Why are you speaking? What credentials do you have to speak? Why did you speak? What was your nafs telling you? Where was your heart? And so we've all put ourselves at times in these positions, but we have to ask very critically why. Because, brothers and sisters, this is very dangerous. It's very dangerous. Putting oneself out there is extremely dangerous. But that's the whole social order today. Get yourself out there. Get a really good profile pic. Polish your this, polish your that. It's a bunch of polish. Because that's what we are. We're just plastic. Everything is being polished. Polish your picture, polish your resume, polish your image, polish this. Get it spruced up and nice enough so that, it's going to be acceptable and loved by, on LinkedIn or on Facebook or on Twitter. Everything has to be polished because it's all plastic. And I don't want to sound like just a dreary, dreadful, angry, everything is faulty and evil. No, there's ways for these platforms to be utilized meaningfully. And sincerely, insha'Allah ta'ala, wa nas'alullah al-afiyah, right? Nas'alullah al-afiyah. But it's the question of why? What is actually playing out? Because I don't want to be covered on the day of judgment with a libas of madalla, with the garment of debasement. And I certainly don't want to be amongst those who are thrust into the hellfire. To the hell, the hell with the dunya. Why would I compromise the akhirah for the dunya? This dunya has nothing for us. And so we have to be careful. And I say this to myself first and foremost, that we look for we look for those cheap looks. Those cheap likes. Human beings don't have much to offer us. And I, with all due respect to the human race, I love human beings. May Allah bless us all and forgive us and guide us and take our hands towards righteousness. But really, the cheapest thing is just to get a like or a look or a thumbs up or a recognition from other human beings. What do other human beings really have for me? What do other human beings know? Just a cheap, like a cheap look. It's like those cheap looks that happen when you're walking in the street, or at least when we used to walk in the street. Just, you steal a look. It's a cheap look. It's ugly. But the problem is, if I'm on the receiving end of that look, I'm like, yeah, look my way. Look at me. Please, like me. Like me more. May Allah protect us. One of the companions, his name was Buraidah. And he says that I was present during Khaybar, and I was amongst those who climbed the ridge until people could see my position. And on that day I was wearing a red cloth, a red garment. He says, فَمَا أَعْلَمُ أَنِّي ارْتَكَبْتُ فِي الْإِسْلَامِ ذَنْبًا أَعْظَمُ عَلَيَّ مِنْهُ أَيْ الشُّهْرَةِ. That I was amongst those who were seen, and I don't know that in all of my years of Islam that I committed a sin that was worse than that, and that was fame or notoriety. And he was just recognized. He was just seen. But that's how they internalized it. That's how they internalized it. Brothers and sisters, in this dunya, being hidden is a virtue. Wallahi al-Azim. It's a spiritual virtue and it's a social virtue. And we have to create a counterculture in our homes, in ourselves first and foremost, in our homes and in our communities, in our social media communities, and everywhere that realizes that being hidden is a virtue. There were 125,000 prophets and messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How many of them do we know? In the Quran, roughly 25 are named. The overwhelming majority of prophets we will never know except on the Day of Judgment. They were all hidden. The ones who were seen were by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How many scholars and righteous, pious predecessors do we have in the history of our ummah? Hundreds and hundreds of thousands. And how many of them are known? Thousands. When there were hundreds of thousands, if not millions of scholars. Overwhelmingly hidden, obscure, unknown. Sufyan al-Thawri, he says, Iyaka wa shuhra. Beware of fame. I have never seen anyone who had shuhra. He says, beware of shuhra, because every single one of my teachers and those of piety that I have come to know, they warned me of shuhra. This was the common teaching in that time. Beware of fame. Beware of notoriety. Beware of being seen. Ibrahim ibn Adham says, ما صدق الله عبد أحب الشهرة. No person who loves fame or notoriety is truthful ma Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is really no combining the two. There's no dual. You can't have both intentions here. You can't love fame and gawk at fame and yearn for fame and at the same time be sadiq ma Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because being truthful with Allah requires that I eliminate the self, that I rid myself of myself. As we said last week, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, that I myself, I negate my inherent ability. I negate that I have any qualifications. I negate that I am anything, and that I only affirm that Allah is everything. So how can I be sadiq when I'm saying effectively my actions, because there's lisanul maqal wa lisanul hal, and the language of my actions are saying, hey, look at Allah, but also look at me. Or if you want to look at Allah through me. And when the prophets and the messengers were hidden, and the truly saintly scholars of our past were hidden, brothers and sisters, what are we doing being seen? I'm embarrassed even saying these things to you, wallahi. I mean, I'll be honest, and I've said this in my classes. The only reason I'm doing this prophetic living platform and everything is because we have an ongoing, series and class and things here in Boston, and we were meeting regularly, and this was, the only way to really, connect with people and to share these message of the hikam. Well, I ask Allah to forgive me if this was ever, poorly done with any poor intention. But, I have said this multiple times. The only reason the likes of me, right, no matter what I may have studied or not have studied in shuyukh or not shuyukh or al-Azhar or otherwise, but the only reason the likes of me speak in this particular moment is because my shuyukh are not here. The senior scholars, the ones who've been teaching the things that I am still getting my beak wet with, and they've taught it for decades of their lives. They are not here to teach. And so we are collectively. And I want to say this as a message to all of you who are listening, and to myself, and to all of my brothers and sisters who are who are hopefully qualified to be speaking in some capacity, who have a basic level of credentials to realize that we are all tayammum, we are all dirt, because the water is missing. The water is not there, so some of us, may Allah forgive us, are there to just say, hey, maybe you can look at this and perhaps just, but make sure you're looking at Allah. Look at Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Let me teach you about the great scholars of our ummah, the likes of Ibn Ata'illah, of the likes of Al-Fudayl ibn Iyad, of the likes of Bishr al-Hafi, of the likes of Abu Talib al-Makki, of the likes of Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, of the likes of Imam al-Nawawi. I want you to know them because those are scholars. We are dirt. And this is not false humility. Allah is my witness. Wallahi, this is the truth. Wallahi al-Azim, this is the truth. Those of us who are in our 30s and 40s and, we're, Bismillah, ala ad-dina, as the Egyptians would say. This is the extent of, Nas'alullah as-salama, and forgive us. The ulama, the scholars, Allahu Akbar, they're a different level. When you say Shaykh, this is Shaykh metaphorically, majazan. This is a metaphorical usage. When my shuyukh, when Shaykh Rayyan would say, Shaykh Yasir, this was metaphorical. Inshallah sayakun. This is called majaz mursal, alaqatuhu ma sayakun. In Arabic rhetoric, this is, a type of metaphor that says, inshallah, it will perhaps come to be or pass. So brothers and sisters, we want to be truthful, ma'Allah. We want to be honest. If I'm someone who posts pictures of myself every single day that are polished, that are filtered, that are accentuating my lips or my face or my body, male or female, there's the modesty is missing. It's shot. It's gone. So my intentionality to post is deeply problematic because I just want to be seen. I want my face to be seen. I want my body to be seen. I want everyone to see how perfect and beautiful my life is. And then so my intentionality is shot. And that's a problem. That's a deep problem. But then on top of that, I'm adding the greater wizr, the greater evil of doing things that are haram. To be seen by people in a manner that is inappropriate, that is immodest. That is how it's sinful. It's sinful behavior, brothers and sisters. Whether you're a man or a woman, to present yourself in a manner that is immodest and displeasing to Allah, that is a wizr, it's a sin. On top of the disaster of not having good intentions, or having poor intention, or presenting the disease of the heart, which is hubb al-dhuhur. And then there's another level of wizr, another level of harm that happens where I say, hey, listen to me talk. Listen to me talk. Listen to my 2 cents. Because I'm a thought provider. I'm a thought leader. I'm an influencer. I'm a change maker. So I have no business talking about the Quran or the Sunnah or to the Muslim community or the non-Muslim community about these questions of virtue and ethics and society and meaning and scripture and etc. But I'm putting myself out there because everyone is putting themselves out there. Everyone is going to vlog. I mean, I watch sometimes, at shock of people just doing the most random and senseless acts on social media. Posting completely unnecessary images of themselves or their children or their family just to share, just to be seen. What are we doing? I hope this is not coming off as judgmentalism. Wallahi, this is from the spirit of nasiha. Allah is my witness. I love all of you. I love my brothers and sisters in Islam. And I think we have tremendous potential to be much better Muslimin, much better believers. We shouldn't write ourselves off. It's like, oh, what's this curmudgeon sheikh angry at, all of social media users, and why can't he just lighten up and I'm an easygoing guy. Come and let's have lunch together and let's just walk. Inshallah, when the corona ends, the ban is lifted, we'll go and we'll have tea and coffee and have real. But that's not what we're talking about. It's we can't support each other in doing things that are detrimental and harmful to our spiritual selves and our salvation. Brothers and sisters, Allah hates those who compete with Him in His kibriya. Allah's man naza'ani fi kibriyai qasamtuhu. Anyone who competes with Allah in His kibriya and His azama, Allah will break them. I don't want to be broken by Allah. I'm nothing. And you're nothing. We're all nothing. Only thing we should ever want is that Allah is praised and Allah is glorified, and that people feel the spirit of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam through our ahwal, through our states. Not because I'm able to put together a really creative 2-minute clip about the beauty of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or I'm able to say a really attractive story on YouTube or on Facebook that gets 1,000 likes, and then I feel like, yes, I'm serving the da'wah. What is my hal? What is my state? Am I a mutakabbir? Do I have arrogance? Or do I have hubb al-zuhur, that I just want to be seen? Is it because I'm truly trying to fulfill a shahwa, a base desire within me? And brothers and sisters, we spend far more time trying to, polish even our seemingly virtuous acts to give it justification just so that I can make myself feel good about myself, rather than making the hard decisions. You know what the hard decisions are? Don't talk. If you're not qualified, stop speaking. If your intention is wrong, get off of the internet. If you don't have the credentials, then don't speak. If you don't have credentials, don't run for public office. We don't need any more unqualified people running for public office, Muslim or non-Muslim. We're living in an age where everyone thinks they can be a leader and everyone should lead. And the metric now that's used for leadership is electability, is likability, is the one who can garner the most votes just because we live in a celebritized culture, the Trump reality. And so we're all just kind of embodying that ethos. Well, I can run for an elected seat. Why not? I can be I think I'm smart. I think I'm capable. I can give a khutbah. I can teach a class. I can give a fatwa. I can dismiss other experts. I can do that because I'm me. A'udhu billahi min ana. I seek refuge in Allah from me, because we are our worst enemy. We are the ones who will destroy ourselves. Not the shaitan, not the COVID virus, nothing. The shaitan the shaitan also works tirelessly, but we are the ones who, when we put ourselves in this position, we end up in a pathway towards self-destruction. And so, brothers and sisters, let me say something. I hope this is not harsh to us. We're all in the same boat together. But the Khawarij of the past, how did the Prophet ﷺ describe the Kharijites? He says they were Hudatha'ul Asnan, Sufaha'ul Ahlam. These were people they had young teeth, so they were young, and then they were wayward in their aspirations and their dreams. Just so arbitrary, wayward, and just young and senseless. Brothers and sisters, we have a neo-Kharijism happening in our community, where it's a lot of people who are very unqualified to be in the sadara, to be in the position of leadership, or to be the person that people follow. I say, well, alhamdulillah, I have brother so-and-so, so my children have someone to look up to. Or I have sister so-and-so, so that my children have someone to look up to. Well, maybe brother so-and-so and sister so-and-so are not people that our children should be looking up to. Maybe that's not the case. We have to be very select about who we choose, not just because we've lowered the bar so tremendously that we're allowing anyone to be a role model for my child. Just because I've lowered the bar for myself, and I'm lowering the bar socially, and so just anyone who just happens to sound good or look good or seem Muslimish, then you know then I surrender to that. No, brothers and sisters, what I need every single day of my life is I need real, rich, nourishing actions, behaviors, and people. I need to be, you know, in a state of khudu' and khumul, obscure and humble. I need to be in a state of ibadah. I have to proactively teach my children the beauty of surrender. Man tawada'a lillahi hakadha, rafa'ahu Allahu hakadha. Those who humble themselves to Allah this way, Allah will uplift them this way. I have to learn to find the people of knowledge. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ. So I have to look at qualifications and credentials. Being young and vibrant and being attractive, or having, you know, having eloquence, or being a great storyteller, or being entertaining, these are not qualifications. That's just the polishing. We have to revive a spirit of, you know, vetting our teachers and our scholars. Who do we take from? Not everyone who comes on any of these platforms is someone that you should be necessarily listening to. And I know people are like, well, you know, I'm just a simple person. I just want to be better. Yes, be better, but we have abilities to look and be a bit more nuanced, scrupulous. Meaning that on the same token, I'm not going to take any news. I'm not going to take any WhatsApp message as real news. You know, I'm not going to, just because someone shared it. No, I'm going to be scrupulous. I'm going to study and look, because I'm going to be that seed that's in the earth, growing, absorbing the nutrients, growing slowly, taking from people of actual know-how and knowledge. There's pathways to do that. There's pathways for meaningful information. I don't have to just buy into and become another one who just consumes everything that's thrown at me. And so that's on the end of all of us as people who are just trying to exist. No, remain hidden. If you're hidden, remain hidden. You know, the Abu al-Abbas al-Mursi, the great scholar of our past, he says, "Man arada al-dhuhur fahuwa abdu al-dhuhur." Those who want to be seen, or those who want fame, then they are the servants. They are the servants of fame. وَمَنْ أَرَادَ الْخَفَاءَ فَهُوَ عَبْدُ الْخَفَاء. And those who desire to be hidden, they are the servants of being hidden. So he identifies both as being blameworthy. وَعَبْدُ اللَّهِ سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِ أَظْهَرَهُ أَوْ أَخْفَاهُ. And the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's whether Allah puts you out or hides you. But we proactively do what? We surrender to the will of Allah. If Allah chooses there will be those who will need to be seen, then that's by the will of Allah. But He's not saying, oh, well, you can say, well, I'm seen, so... No, but how much did you proactively work about being seen? Did you boost all of your stuff and you push yourself out there? Did you have FOMO? Did you have fear of missing out so that you weren't on that flyer or this platform or that place, or you weren't in that group or this... Are you constantly sharing yourself in your life, and are you begging people to look at you or not? Or are you seen, but it was begrudgingly seen because there was an objective need or a benefit for you to be seen, and then Allah willed that people came to know of you. You know, look at the beauty of the Quran in Surah Al-Najm, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Don't ever praise yourself. Allah makes it, don't praise yourself, because you and I were inherently not praiseworthy. Allah is praiseworthy. Allah yastahiqu al-hamd al-mutlaq. He deserves absolute praise. We are not praiseworthy. We are, as I said in the beginning, بَيْنَ نُطْفَةٍ مَذِرَةٍ وَجِيفَةٍ قَذْرَةٍ. Between a profane sperm droplet and a rotting carcass. And in between, نحمل العذرة, we carry feces. رحم الله أبا بكر الصديق. Look, may Allah have mercy upon Sayyidina Abu Bakr. He would take his tongue out of his mouth and he would say, هذا الذي أوردني الموارد. This tongue, this is the one that has brought me so many problems. فلا تزكوا أنفسكم. And it's not just about praising yourself with your tongue. No, it's praising yourself with your profile pic or your Instagram or your whatever, Twitter. Look at the likes of Sayyidina Umar. كان يجر لحيته نفسه يقول. He used to hold his beard and he would drag and say, you are going to Umar, you are going to fear Allah or Allah will punish you. This was their hal. This was their hal. If you're going to fear Allah, you're going to humble yourself, or Allah will punish you. So brothers and sisters, if you're a wife or you're a husband, and you're arrogant with your spouse, and everything is about your spouse praising you, or acknowledging you, or recognizing you, or affirming you, and I'm obsessed with myself, my children become, slaves and servants to the master. A'udhu billah. Humble yourself. We all have to humble ourselves. We are not masters in our homes. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave deference to certain people to have a basic level of authority so that they can be of greater responsibility on the Day of Judgment, that's not something that we should take as a form of praise. That should just mean, oh my God, I have far more responsibility upon me. It's not because I'm the man that I am special. No. You just have a lot more to answer for on the Day of Judgment. So humble yourself. As a young child, I better not be running around in this egotistical, self-centered orientation of, hey, everyone, look at me. The world revolves around me. My mom and my dad, their only duty in life is to serve me and to bring me pleasure. I have to be careful about that. Hide yourself. No, be humble. Obscure yourself. I have to be careful about how I think of myself because of my job. I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I'm an engineer. I'm a news anchor. I'm this, I'm that. I'm a professor. I'm an academic. When I walk into the room, all of you should, shift your bodies a little differently because I'm here. So what? What is it? What are you? What do you have? What do we have? What do we have? We have to realize that we have nothing and we are nothing. And the ulama of our past, they would proactively, the people of spirituality, they would proactively render themselves null and void. No, I don't. Imam Shafi'i would say, I wish that truth would come out on the tongues of others, especially those who were against me. I wish they were the ones speaking the truth, so that I don't have to be seen. Uwais al-Qarni, he was known for this, and this was why he was given such status. He would run away from recognition. Although he was identified from the people of Jannah, he would recognize run away from, no, I'm not that person. If someone has an opinion of you that keeps you humble, stay humble. Stay good. Don't be upset. Well, that was my idea. Or I'm the one who came up with that. Or no, you don't know who you're talking to. If someone thinks that you're just a jahil, embrace, okay, maybe that's a good thing. I'll just say, that person thinks I'm ignorant. I don't have to be obsessed with, no, they have to know that I have knowledge. So let me start spitting off at my mouth. No, perhaps if someone thinks I'm not a scholar, good. Or I'm not, a person of standing good. Or a person doesn't think that I'm interesting, that's fine. Alhamdulillah. The more people who think I'm not interesting, and the more people who think that I'm not special or unique, then alhamdulillah, that's good. All you have to do is do khair sincerely. That's the most important thing. I want to be sincere, I want to be hidden, and I want to do good things. And if Allah wills that your reality is to be hidden for the rest of your life, then Allah has done something good for you. And if Allah wills that you come to be known, or that you're seen, or that you're recognized, whether it's in your home, or amongst your family, or at your job, or socially, or whatever, and you genuinely, sincerely were humble, then ask Allah as-salama and forgiveness. I'll ask Allah to protect you, because the eyes of others are dangerous. The looks of others are dangerous. So brothers and sisters, I say this to everyone, young and old. Beware of social media. Beware of the social media effect. Wallahi, brothers and sisters, if you have pictures that are up, that are not up except for others to see and look and appreciate, take them down. If you have pictures and you have images and you have stuff that's there just so that people can look at me, take it down. The only things that you should have up are things that are objectively good, nourishing, meaningful, that are basic. Nothing. Don't worry. Don't worry about seeing. Allah sees. Wallahi, Allah sees, and Allah knows. And on the Day of Judgment, the only thing I'm going to be caring about is that Allah is pleased with me, and He is pleased with obscurity. Brothers and sisters, I want to close with this, inshallah ta'ala. Bishr al-Hafi, he was asked by a man, he said, please give me advice. He said, ukhmul dhikrak, make yourself hidden and make your food pure. Subhanallah. And he said, Ma a'rifu rajulan, I don't know of a man who loved to be known except that they lost their deen and they were exposed. And it is narrated upon the authority of Sayyiduna Isa, where he says, Bishr al-Hafi, I mentioned Bishr al-Hafi, please look him up. He was a righteous scholar from the 3rd century. You can look him up, inshallah, on Google. And he had a beautiful story that I shared maybe 2 weeks ago, so you can look him up, inshallah. Sayyidina Isa, he was asked, where does the seed grow? In the earth. فَقَالَ عَلَيْهِ, the seed grows in the earth. So he said, that's where hikmah, that's where wisdom grows. It grows in the heart. And so, brothers and sisters, the Prophet ﷺ says, رُبَّ أَشْعَثَ أَغْبَرَ أَقْسَمَ عَلَى اللَّهِ لَوْ أَقْسَمَ عَلَى اللَّهِ لَأَبَرَّهُ. There are those who may be, the most unknown, and they may just be disheveled, and they may be poor, and they may have none of the fixing of this life. They may not be physically attractive. They have none of it, none of the stuff of life. They're not going to be social influencers. They can't, no matter how much polish they put on, they're never going to be something that people want to look at. But رُبَّ أَشْعَثَ أَغْبَرَ لَوْ أَقْسَمَ عَلَى اللَّهِ لَأَبَرَّهُ. Perhaps someone who's disheveled and and dusty, that if they swear upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept from them. And so, brothers and sisters, please let us not seek things that will cause us harm. I hope and pray that the message of today is understood, which is for all of us to not covet and to not desire things that will really harm us in the afterlife, that will deprive us from having spiritual increase and growth. I hope and pray that we have the strength to say no to ourselves, and that we surround ourselves with those who will give us good nasiha. I hope that what you can do after this is call someone you respect, not someone who's going to enable you, but someone you respect, and say, hey, listen, be honest with me. Do I do those things? Am I someone who on social media, the way I am on social media, is it blameworthy? How should I change? What can I do better? Brothers and sisters, practically speaking, we need to spend a lot more time alone in a state of being that seed in the earth. We don't need to be around people as much as we think we need to be. We don't need to be socially validated as much as we think we need to be. That's just because we haven't learned how to spend time hidden with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We haven't learned how nourishing that is, and that's where growth happens, and that's where spiritual elevation happens, and that's where it is safe when you're hidden with Allah. We should be socially with humility, with a presence that is, وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا. The servants of Ar-Rahman, of the Most Merciful, who walk on this earth gently. And they خَاطَبُهُمْ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. They just say peace. So with your family, make sure that your carbon footprint on your family is not so evident, but rather you have been a nourishing presence because your state is so beautiful, because you actually spent a lot of time working on yourself. This hikmah is all about realizing that life is about you staying beneath the surface, working on yourself. The majority of our time should be spent working on our hearts, working on our minds. We should be doing a lot of dhikr, a lot of istighfar, a lot more prayer. We should be spending a lot more time reading, gaining beneficial knowledge, studying and learning. We should be doing service that is not seen a lot, so helping neighbors and family members and loved ones in donation, and just be a busy bee. Look at the way the bee works. It's the worker bee, just unknown, but it's always busy working, doing good. And that when we have a community, when all of us, we embody a spiritual orientation of obscurity, but not just sitting there watching TV, but there is nourishment and growth happening. Then we'll begin to see trees blooming in the community. And then naturally, when everyone buries themselves, then the trees that are actually meant to grow will grow. And the plastic trees will just never be planted. And if you're not meant to be seen, you'll never be seen. Just like the 120,000 plus prophets and messengers who were never seen. Doesn't mean that they're insignificant, it's just that they're not meant to be seen, and they're in salam. And brothers and sisters, if you live your entire life not being validated or affirmed or loved or liked or blah 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 or any of this other social stuff, alhamdulillah, you've lived a very good life. You've lived a safe life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to never do things to ourselves that are harmful. Spiritually, may Allah help us to never do things that will harm our salvation. May Allah help us to take nasiha from one another. I'll close with this. I know I was going to close, but I'll close with this actually. When Sayyidina Abu Dharr was told by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, don't ever lead anyone, not even two people. Don't put yourself over anyone. You don't have it, because it will be in this life a source of tremendous agony and pain, and it will be in the afterlife for you a source of deep regret. You're not qualified. Don't lead. Don't put yourself out there. Brothers and sisters, I say this to everyone in our community who puts themselves out there, and they shouldn't. Don't do it. If any of you who are listening are my beloved and close brothers and sisters who feel something towards me in that way, please be the first to give me nasiha. Wallahi al-azim. I say this to all of the brothers and sisters who live stream and who speak on Facebook and online. Please check, all of us, let us check our intentions. Let us check our qualifications. I say this to the people who run institutions, who run masajid, and who run organizations. If you're not qualified to lead, don't lead. Step down, walk away. Give it to the people who are qualified. If you're objectively just holding on because of your nafs, and because of your legacy, or because you feel that you have the right to something, let go of it. It's not good. Don't compromise the akhirah for something of the dunya. Let's not covet this stuff. Let's not covet authority, notoriety, recognition, power, whether it's in the smallest place of our home with our family or in the social stuff. Because if I take on something that I'm genuinely not qualified for, then I'm going to be the first to be thrust into Jahannam. Especially when it has to do with the welfare of the Muslimin. If I start telling people, we think it's benign, we share stuff, we say stuff, whatever. But if I start saying things that are going to actually hurt people's spirituality or harm people's social well-being, physically or otherwise, then I put myself in the line of fire. I'm playing with serious fire. If I'm holding on to a position or a post, or I'm maintaining authority over something just because of my nafs, and that thing has to do with the welfare of the Muslimin, the welfare of Muslims, and my ego won't let it go, brothers and sisters, your salvation on the day of judgment is very much in question. Don't take it light, it's just, this is mine and I like it, and so I'm not going to let go of it. Let go. May Allah help us to divest ourselves of everything in this life before the afterlife. Wallahi, may we leave this world without any of these attachments. May our attachments only be lillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to hate being known or seen or recognized or praised or liked or affirmed or validated by anyone except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah make it that our sole focus in life is His pleasure. May we proactively, in these days where we are all isolated in our homes, may we learn the virtue of obscurity. I want us to all embrace being alone, and being alone ma'Allah, taking deliberate time to pray with intentionality, to pray slowly, with nothing in mind, nothing to share, nothing to like, nothing to do, nothing that has to do with people, no timelines, just pausing and spending 20, 30 minutes, an hour ma'Allah. May Allah help us to love doing that. May Allah beautify all of us with the beautiful character of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathira. I ask you all to forgive me for my shortcomings in this talk. If there's anything that I said that was faulty or wrong or problematic, may Allah forgive me. Wallahi, I speak from the heart, and I speak hopefully directed at myself first. I hope this was meaningful for all of us to think differently as we're trying to process these hikam, these wisdoms, in a way that will rectify our collective conditions. Barakallahu feekum wa jazakumullah kulli khair. Inshallah, I'll take some of the questions. I see a lot of comments. Barakallahu feekum, jazakumullah khair. May Allah bless all of our brothers and sisters who are making dua. I'm saying, do you need to be perfect? No, I'm not saying you have to be perfect. I'm saying you have to be qualified, because no one is perfect. And before anyone chooses to speak and anyone chooses to present themselves, take nasiha, take guidance from people of knowledge, from teachers, and say, hey, listen, I was thinking of doing this. Is it a good idea or a bad idea? Just because everyone can click the go live button doesn't mean that we should click the go live button. We need to limit the static noise in the atmosphere, so that the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only thing that is seen. So perhaps a lot of us, what would behoove us is that we share much more about what scholars are saying, and true scholars, ulama, who have credentials to say that or to say what they're saying, rather than to just, hey, listen, I'm going to share this with you, listen to me. So I think that's more I'm indicating. It's not about, and then it's not for me to decide whether I am qualified to speak. It's for teachers and those of qualifications to say, okay, there's a certain type of peer recognition and obviously teacher recognition that yes, it would be useful for you to share some thoughts with the community. Barakallahu feekum. Jazakumullah khair. All the ad'iyah apply to you, inshallah. Yes, we recommend fasting. Barakallahu feek, Brother Shahab, for this beautiful reminder. Please do fast these days, the 13th and the 14th and the 15th, which are the coming days, inshallah, which are these days of the middle of the month. Also fast Mondays and Thursdays. These are all beautiful. And inshallah, the middle of Sha'ban, it's a big point of fiqhi discussion of its virtues and otherwise. Alhamdulillah, it's one of the beautiful nights. Certainly, it's one of the nights where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks upon His servants and He forgives everyone except those who are in a state of tussle, of shuhn, their hatred towards each other and anger towards each other. So please let us forgive those who we have harmed, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. The context of functioning in society, professionally, what is an appropriate way to remain hidden? Only be seen when you need to be seen, or when there is a compelling reason to be seen. I'm not saying that we shouldn't leave our homes, not be seen by anyone. No, but what I mean by that are if there is a reason, an objective need for me and benefit, objective now benefit for me to be seen or whatever or presented, then inshallah, with the right conditions, it's a sound thing to do. But the remainder of our lives, we should try to remain quiet. مَنْ كَانَ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَلْيَقُلْ خَيْرًا أَوْ لِيَصْمُتْ. If you believe in Allah and the Day of Judgment, then say good or remain quiet. And so I have to limit the opportunities that I expose myself to harmful elements. So if you look at it in the vein of like the coronavirus, all of us are isolating because the coronavirus is like this massive thing that everyone is terrified of. It's not massive, but you know what I mean. And so everyone's like isolating because they don't want to potentially be touched because it may be on the surface. Someone may cough, some of this. So we're extra cautious of touching surfaces, whether it's a handle or we're washing our plastic bags, we're not shaking hands, we're not spending time. So perhaps a level of that caution goes into, how often am I actually, just obsessed with being known or seen, etc. And I'm talking, this is not just for people who are, speakers or people who are, proactively sharing. I'm talking about the average social media usage and what it's kind of transitioned to. And I mentioned specifically the picture sharing for a reason, right? But it's also sharing, my 2 cents. There's a lot of people who share their 2 cents online, and it just becomes a distraction. And it's better for people to keep that change in their pocket. Save that up. Save all that good change for the akhirah. Not everyone needs to be sharing their 2 cents. All right, wallahu a'lam. May Allah forgive us. And I'm saying this wallahi, this nasiha goes to me first. So I just want to be on that. All of these ad'iyah, they apply to all of us. Yes, your nasiha did hurt a little bit, but that's when I know that my current stage requires some change. Barakallahu fiki, Sister Sarah, that the nasiha, inshallah, hopefully, it applies to all of us. These nasayih, we must not be so averse to nasiha, to advice. And sometimes nasiha comes in a beautiful fashion. Sometimes nasiha comes in a harsh fashion. People will come and they'll say things to me that may be very harsh, but it's good nasiha, so I'll take it. I'll try my best to take it. I'll try to not allow my nafs or my ego to kick in. Okay, so I have received questions that were submitted on that form, so if I can just look at them, bi'idhnillah. But yes, take nasiha wherever it comes from. The Sayyidina Umar would say, Rahimallahu mara'an ahda ilayya uyubi, that may Allah have mercy upon the person who gives me as a gift my shortcomings and my faults. Right? So these are gifts. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends you a Rasul. I shared this in my classes. It's a famous story of one of the khutaba of Al-Azhar, one of the great, people who would be on the minbar. And he felt one day that he gave a really good talk. And he came off the minbar and he was walking to his car, and he had this huge hashia around him, this huge, mass of people, like 100, 200 people just walking with him to his car. And so there was a man who was majdoob, a little bit kind of taken mentally, and he ran up to the Imam and he smacked him on his chest. This was Shaykh Ismail Sadiq al-Adawi. He smacked him in his chest and he said to him, and excuse the harshness and the vulgarity, he said, "Mabsoot min nafsak ya ibn al-kalb." He said, "You're proud of yourself, you son of a dog." And of course the people were gonna like devour this man. So the Shaykh Ismail said, "Leave him." So when they got in the car, one of his students or his helpers were with him, and he said, "I said leave him because I was proud of myself after that khutbah. I did feel good about myself. And so that I take that man as a Rasul, as a messenger from Allah, that which showed me something that I have to be very careful about." Brothers and sisters, one of the most dangerous things to be in is in a state of ghafla. You know, if I eliminate the people in my life who will give me nasiha because they're worried about hurting my feelings, or because I don't want to be shamed by that person. You know, a lot of times we don't give nasiha because we don't want to be shamed by that person, or we don't want to hurt that person's feeling, or we don't want to be written off by that person, because that person, if you give them nasiha, they'll write you off. You know, we have to allow all of ourselves to be positioned properly for good nasiha, because we all need nasiha, we all need advice. And so let us not put up barriers for advice. And let us not, just obsess with, that person's judging me. Okay, even if they're judging you, but if it's sound, take it. If someone's judging me, and they're judging me in a way that is actually objectively sound, then let me take it. Rather than if I keep on eliminating those probabilities and I just surround myself with yes men and praise and love and adulation, then I'm going to go into a greater state of heedlessness. And then perhaps I'm so lost at a certain point and I have no one to show me the right way because I've eliminated all the possible people in my life who could help me. What about people who post things of them performing charity on social media? Those who are doing charitable acts on social media, just be very careful about your intention and the reason why you're posting. So this person is saying, I'm trying to inspire others. I genuinely hope and pray that is the intention. But the measure of that is to see how much you're giving and doing outside of people's eyes. Sirran wa alaniya. How much am I doing outside of people's eyes? And how much am I doing, in people's eyes? Listen, at the end of the day, only Allah knows our intentions, okay? So, we can say whatever we want to say. As long as I'm not trying to justify myself or justify something to myself, and I'm genuinely sincere, and I'm balanced, and I objectively feel, okay, you know what? People really need to know about this opportunity because there's so much khair, that person really has need, so I really just want to share this, wallahi, for the sake of Allah, then do it, inshallah. But limit the amounts of times that you do that as well, and try to offset a lot of that with doing things privately, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. You shouldn't speak about things you don't know about, but what happens when you don't have resources in your community like shuyukh and end up with unqualified teachers doing their best to teach from what they know have been taught, i.e. Islamic school and teaching? This is a very good question. I mean, listen, we live in an imperfect circumstance, okay? There's no doubt about it. And it's not to say that we live in, a completely dire circumstance, but we live in difficult circumstances. And what I'll say is, we can only objectively do our best, but we have to do our best. If I am presenting myself as someone who should be listened to, and there are perhaps others more qualified and better, but I'm really just interested in having that position or whatever, then that's a real problem. Then if I'm looking for the best, then I'm going to seek the best. So perhaps I realize, brother so-and-so or sister so-and-so is far more qualified to do this, but they are so humble, they won't speak or they won't put themselves out there. So I'm going to be the one who say, you know what, please, let's have a sister so-and-so or brother so-and-so do this. We can use these platforms to try to connect with people of knowledge, seek, advice from others. How can we build out our Islamic school curriculum, for a bunch of lay people teaching children Islam? What's the best way to do that when we don't have access to teachers and mashayikh who can do that? How can a lay person best, convey a basic message without overstepping their boundaries, right? So it's not to say that if you're not a scholar of Islam, you can't teach children the ABCs of the Arabic language or Quran. That's not what I'm inferring. What I'm inferring is we really exhaust ourselves collectively to identify the best and the most praiseworthy circumstances for ourselves and for our community, so that we protect our salvation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we protect the community from harm. We don't want ignorance to be rampant in the community. I think a lot of people in the Muslim community have been harmed because of just bad education, bad education, bad Islamic education from people who present themselves as shuyukh or ulama or du'at or whatever the case is, or leaders or social influencers or Muslim leaders or whatever the case. All of this stuff, it's been messy. So I'm putting the onus on each and every single one of us to exhaust ourselves to really find means. That doesn't mean that you have to go online and say, okay, here is my list of people who are qualified and unqualified. That's not your duty or my duty either. That's just to say, everyone, إن هذا العلم دين إن هذا العلم دين فانظروا عمن تأخذون دينكم. This knowledge is deen. So be very thoughtful and careful about who you take your deen from. That's something we all have, by the way. And at the end of the day, if all the resources are not there, and the only thing is I am available to teach some children the basics of how to read the Quran and maybe some of the life of the Prophet ﷺ in some of the Arabic language or some basic Islamic values, then you do that, alhamdulillah, with humility, to the best of your ability, seeking Allah to give you fath, opening, with a teacher or a scholar to come, right? To relieve you of this duty, to really identify that, you know what, I am not qualified, but I'm only doing this because objectively there's no one else to do it. This is the type, we spoke last week about the ilaj, the treatment of one's sincerity. How do I actually attain a purity in my intentionality? And it's through through a proactive process of doing that. وَنَسْأَلُ اللَّهَ السَّلَامَ وَالْمَغْفِرَةِ. Okay, so I think, inshallah, I answered all of the critical questions that were relevant to the topic. Ballahu fikum. Allah, may I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us, to help us, inshallah, be more upright and more sincere. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow this time of isolation to be a time of spiritual nourishment and growth, and may we find genuine nourishment and joy in being alone with Allah and in the remembrance of the Habib of Sahbihi wa sallam. Barakallahu feekum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.